Hello there, you lovely people. I would like to introduce you to a dear friend of mine called Ange. Ange is very similar to my role, being a counsellor and a trainer of mental health to children and young people. She works in many schools across the country. She delivers programs and she's got a fantastic team as well. And her company is called Elementary Health. Hi there, Ange.
Hello, it's lovely to see you.
I know, how cool is this?
I know.
So in this video, what we would like to do is we would like to have a bit of a reality check because we know how not only tough can school be for you guys, but just life as well. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to explore and talk about anxiety. We'd like to kind of figure out how it may present itself. And then Angie's got some top tips of how you can better help yourself when you are feeling anxious. And then right at the end, we've got some kind of just guidance for parents and carers as well. So, Ange, let's get on with it because you and we can waffle all day. Well, I can anyway. So, Ange, how would you best describe what anxiety is?
I guess anxiety it's an emotional response that's similar to fear, and it shows up in lots of different ways. So it can be a feeling of like there's a real threat, or one that you're imagining. And sometimes our bodies and our brains don't know the difference to whether it's real or imagined. So it responds in the same way.
And is anxiety always such a bad thing?
No, I think this is the thing. Sometimes we get a bit kind of freaked out if we're feeling anxious, but anxiety is a totally normal experience to have. We all feel anxious at different points in our lives. So if you're doing a test or an exam, it'd be totally normal for you to have anxious thoughts or worries about that. When we think about anxiety, or perhaps an anxiety disorder, that's when those feelings last for much longer and they don't go away. So a little bit of anxiety can get you going, it can get you up in the morning, it can actually really help you focus with things. But if you're noticing it happening for weeks without having any kind of break, that's a really good time to talk to somebody about how you're feeling.
Perfect. And then how may anxiety present itself? Because we're all so different. You know, I know when I'm working with my clients, I never say, none of us are exactly the same. We've not got the same name, fingerprint, walk, talk, the same background. So we're all different. So how may it present itself for the different people?
What you said there is like so important. Everybody has a sort of slightly different kind of anxiety response. And some of my recommendations are around learning what yours is, and I'll show you some different ways that you can do that. It's really common symptoms. If we think about the physical response of anxiety, you might be really sweaty, your heart might be racing, you might want to run away from the situation, you might have kind of physical aches and pains. There are times when you might just want to avoid something. So if you find that you're really avoiding a situation or you're going out of your way to not do something, sometimes that's an anxiety response as well. And sometimes it can cause like really big emotions. So you might feel really angry, you might feel really sad, you might feel totally numb and disconnected. So actually sometimes it can make you not want to talk to your friends, can make you not want to be around people, can make you feel really scared about having conversations with other people. So it shows up in so many different ways.
So Ange, the question is, what would be your top tips to actually help somebody to suggest support in ways that they can help themselves?
If that person's experiencing anxious thoughts or anxiety, I think I've got like a little package of strategies that I always recommend to my clients. And some of these are going to be a bit eye-rolly and they might sound a little bit boring, but the really basic stuff actually makes the most difference. So if your sleep is not good, that will increase any symptoms of anxiety or anxious thoughts. So have really good sleep hygiene, which is really obvious. We all know about not being on our phones until really late at night. If you kind of pick a window from about 11 p.m. to about 4 a.m., where you're not on your phone, you're on your screen, that will give you better quality sleep. So that's one of my kind of main recommendations, really. And I understand that can be super hard if talking to your friends is the thing that helps you feel better. So that's one of them. Another one is getting yourself outside, and you can start really small with that. So I say to my clients, if you don't want to go out for a walk, how do you feel about opening a window? Just open a window. Doesn't matter where you live, in a city, wherever you are, open the window, just take a few deep breaths, or just look outside. Try and find something natural or green to look at. We know that that can kind of calm our bodies down, so it can kind of release stress. What we put in our bodies really matters. So if you're drinking loads of caffeinated drinks like energy drinks, if you're eating a lot of kind of sugary processed foods really late at night, they can also increase your symptoms. And also how you move your body. So for some people that might just be gentle stretches in the chair. For other people that might be high intensity interval training. So it's picking things that can kind of slow your body down. When we're anxious, our body thinks it needs to run away from danger. So one of the best things we can do is to help it mobilize, help it move. And if we can move our body, even if you're just tapping your fingers or your foot or squeezing a stress ball, helps your body realize it's okay, we're running away, it's going to be fine. So they're the basics that I go for. Access to sunlight, that can set a really good sleep cycle. And there's some really cool research around just get outside in the morning, 5, 10, 15 minutes, get the sun in your eyes, not bright sunlight, but get the sun in your eyes. That sets a whole chain of events that will make you sleep better. Super simple. You're walking to school. Fantastic. Just make sure you're kind of looking up and looking around you as you're doing it. And then that helps your sleep, and that then reduces some of the anxiety responses. And then if you want, I can share some of the kind of more specific practical things.
Please, because I just think that, like you say, it's individual, and I think that for different people it's different things. And you're so right, some people might just think, oh, that's so fluffy, that's never going to work. But unless you try it, you will never know. So yeah, please, Ange, if you don't mind.
And that's so true as well. I often say to anyone I work with, just try it out. Humour me for a week. If you feel silly and you don't like it, you don't have to do it again, but you're never going to know unless you try. And a lot of this stuff you can do by yourself as well. So if you're feeling very worried about your friends noticing, or you're a little bit nervous about sharing with anybody else what's going on, a lot of these things you can do by yourself. So a couple of favourites of mine, and a really popular strategy for if you're in the classroom, is a really simple distraction technique. Jo, you might want to do this with me. So what I invite my clients to do is just pick a colour. So I'm having a look around you. Okay, so let's pick green, because there's a lot of green around you.
Yeah, got it, yeah.
Okay, so you're just going to spend just about 15 seconds. You're going to scan around the room, and I want you to just focus on anything green that you can see.
Okay. Quite a bit.
Okay, and then you want to draw your attention back to me. Find green things?
Loads.
Okay, lovely. Okay, you're going to do exactly the same thing, but this time, could you pick something red to focus on? So scan around.
Wow.
Find red things?
Yeah, I didn't think I would.
Okay, so whilst you were looking for the green things at the beginning, were you looking for anything red?
No.
Okay. And whilst you were looking for red things, were you looking for anything green?
No.
Okay, so look how cool your brain is, how easy it is for you to switch your attention. So if you're in a lesson and you're feeling super anxious, and actually you really want to get up and go out, but you feel too nervous to do that, or maybe nobody knows how you're feeling, you can use the colour strategy in the classroom. So if you're sat there and you're feeling super nervous and you're focusing on that, we all know if I start thinking, oh, I'm really anxious, it gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Sit in the classroom, pick your colour, whatever your favourite colour is, scan the room, you immediately flip your attention outwards, reduces your stress straight away.
That is so... I'm going to take that, and can I use that with my clients as well? Well, we're going to share it with loads of other people as well. So going on that, because we know that there are certain students that feel too embarrassed when they're in a lesson, it's all getting a bit too much, you know, and some people might even have things such as panic attacks. So can you just tell us what are panic attacks, and what would be a tip for a student to help themselves in that moment?
Panic attacks are very often anxiety at its kind of most extreme end of the spectrum. So if you were rating yourself out of 10, it would be an 8 or a 9 out of 10. And very often shows up as it might feel like your heart is racing. Sometimes people feel like they're not real as well. So they might feel like they're almost not in their body, or that their hands and feet are too big, or they're not connected to them. And it can feel super scary if you have panic attacks. And one of the really big things about panic attacks is if you've had one, and actually lots of people have had them, they're actually really, really common, but no one really talks about it. So one of the things to say is it's okay if you're having them. They don't tend to last forever. And there are things you can do to help yourself. But the scary thing is when your heart feels like it's racing super fast, and maybe you're in that classroom and you really want to get out but you can't, there can be a real fear around, gosh, what happens if every single time I go to that place I have a panic attack?
Yes.
One of the things that happens is our clever brain thinks, I can protect you. We'll just avoid going to that place and then you won't have a panic attack. And then what happens is your world just starts to get a little bit smaller. So if you start avoiding that one place or that one room or that one person, over time you'll find yourself avoiding more and more. So something that's really helpful, if you have got somebody in school or like a counsellor, for example, somebody you can talk with, they can help you build up so you can start to face your fears really slowly. But one thing, a lot of people I work with have signs and symptoms of panic attacks. They know when one's coming. Now, different people have different responses. So this isn't a kind of cookie cutter response. But actually, if you are just feeling a little bit off, you just feel like, do you know what? It kind of feels like I might have a panic attack. That is your perfect opportunity to use some of your strategies to help calm yourself down. And the ones that work the most effectively are either distraction techniques, and you can include your friends in this as well if they know what's going on. It can be a silly phone game or a quick Snapchat or a phone conversation. They can help support you. But actually some of the things I really like are breathing techniques. I always say to my clients, in the middle of a panic attack, as much as we want to, it's really, really hard to be breathing deeply. Anyone that says to you, with all the love and intention, just breathe. If you've ever had a panic attack, you know how hard that is, because if you could, you would. So when I talk about breathing, it's not in that moment. It's when you feel like the signs are coming on. And there are different breathing techniques. I'll show you a couple in a second. But the breathing techniques, if you are doing these actually when you are at your most calm. So if you feel calm when you wake up in the morning, just spend a couple of minutes, use your breathing strategies. If you're in the car on the way to school, or perhaps it's at the end of the day, you are teaching your body over time to just calm and ground itself. And then what happens is when we are perhaps about to have a panic attack, we've already given our body all of the information. We've already told it can breathe and it's safe. So you'll find that you'll start to naturally change how you breathe in those moments.
I love that. Okay, so what would be, I'm kind of going to bring it towards the end now because I've got 3 more questions for you. Obviously, parents and carers out there that have children that suffer with intense anxiety sometimes, or it might be kind of creeping from that normal level and just getting more and more intense. What would be your best way to support those particular parents? Because I know you do some parental work as well.
Yeah, I work a lot with parents and carers. I think one of the things that really pops up is that there's a lot of, sometimes people blame themselves. Yeah. And then sometimes that can just make it so hard for everybody because it's so overwhelming and stressful. So it's kind of remembering, if you have got people around you as a parent or carer, that you reach out to them. Yeah. You're allowed to put your life jacket on first. That's okay. Yeah. If you're okay, if you're calm, then it's easier to support your child in those moments. And something that sometimes happens if we are the parent of an anxious child is we just don't want them to feel that way. So we want to protect them. And what that means is sometimes we kind of support them in their kind of avoiding behaviours.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Because we don't want the tears, we don't want the meltdown, our hearts hurt when our children are feeling distressed. So we might say things like, oh, it's okay, you don't have to do that thing, whatever that thing is. But what we also know about anxiety is facing it gently, calmly, slowly is the way to overcome it. So it's being a team. Whoever's in your team, it could just be you and your child, there might be lots of you. Be a team together. Develop little strategies, and the things like the breathing stuff you can do as a family.
Yeah, true.
A little bit of, I call it 3-4-5 breathing. Just make your out breath longer than your in breath. Just do that for a couple of minutes. Do that in the car. If you've got a child that's nervous about going into school, you can do it together. And it really, really helps just bring everything down again.
Yeah, I love that. And also, I think, let's taking it back to the young person, is that we have to remind ourselves that they're only there, parents and carers, they're going to be trying as much as they can, and they aren't necessarily going to know exactly what to say or what to do. So we just kind of have to think about how it may be for them as well. Okay, Ange, question. What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Oh, such a good question. My 16-year-old self had a pretty tricky time, if I'm honest with you. There's a lot of things happening in her world, and 16-year-old me found it quite hard to reach out and ask for help. Yeah. It took quite a lot for me to tell people that I was anxious, that I wasn't okay. So my advice would be to her and to any of you that are experiencing anxious thoughts or worries or fears, tell someone. Just tell one person. It doesn't matter who they are. If they feel safe, start with them, see what happens. Because actually, when you do that and you trust that person just a little bit, it can be absolutely life-changing.
I love that. I love that. So, obviously you do lots of counselling. I know that you're in schools, you do your private work. I know that you work with parents and carers. I know that you do your delivery of training. So that's teachers and professionals, that's parents and carers, and that's young people. Where can they find out more about yourself and your work, Ange?
You can find me on all the social media platforms. So my business is Elemental Health. So you can look for me under my company name, or you can look for me under the name Angela McMillan. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and then we deliver training all across the UK, all across the world, depending on where some of your viewers are.
No, you've grown so much. You're doing so well, and you're making such a difference. And I'm so grateful for your time. I know you're a busy lady, and thank you for helping me and together reaching more young people, more children. So thank you.
Thank you.
So everybody, thank you for joining me for this video. Stay awesome, and I look forward to doing a video next week. See you later, everybody. Bye.